Well, hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir and this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not. On to the questions. Okay, let's see. The first one's first. He says our PR application was cancelled as incomplete as proof of marriage affidavit and church certificate which were submitted are apparently not accepted. Yes, of course they're not accepted. I mean, you should have. I mean, it's been written quite clearly that your marriage certificate has to be from the official registrar of the marriage. So the religious marriage certificates or the affidavits per se are not acceptable. We got married 18 years ago and these are the only documents we have used, attested by Indian Embassy, etc., etc. These documents were accepted for our visit visas. Absolutely devastated. Well, I'm sorry about that. I feel really bad, but documents being accepted for visit visa are different. When it comes to a PR application, everything is much more stricter, much more stringent, including the background checks. So I absolutely feel the hurt here and the anguish here, but religious certificates of marriage are not acceptable. I've seen this happening plenty of times, and this is probably one of the reasons why you need to do proper research with your documentation, because when you just assume what has worked for somebody else, what has worked for you in the past in a different application will also work for you in a PR application, that might not hold true. And this is, yeah, I really feel sad. I'm very sorry for what this has done to you and how you're feeling about it. But yeah, they're absolutely right, because that is the requirement and there is nothing that you would be able to do in this situation. You will need to get a marriage certificate from the registrar of marriage, and that would be the way to go. And if you were unable to achieve or rather obtain it, then you would have had to provide a very detailed explanation along with alternative documentation that proves that. But if you are not able, if you did not do that, you did not provide that explanation, you did not provide the alternative proof, and basically stating that you tried to get it and this was the proof that you tried to get it, but you could not, and hence this, then the refusal is there. I'm sorry about that. Okay, what are the chances for those in 480 range? If you do not have any PNP options, then the only chances would be to have a bit of patience and wait for the federal skilled worker draws to start. As and when those draws will start, you will have a better understanding of which way the whole program will be going throughout this year. I'm a student in Canada and I will complete 1-year course in May 2022. My CRS score is 439. If I take 1-year postgraduate work permit, I get 1-year work experience, my score will be 479. Will this route be okay? Well, you are asking me something which would be in 2023 May. We don't even know how things are looking like for the remainder of the year. Even for next month, we don't know, even for the month after that. So how will it play out in the year of 2023 by the time you complete your 1-year work experience is very difficult. So my recommendation for people who are in your situation would be always to have an alternative ready, or to basically be in a province where you have this alternative that in case I am not eligible for Canadian experience class, or if my score is not enough for the Canadian experience class, then I should have an alternative. I should be able to make use of what the province is doing. For example, Prince Edward Islands, you work 6 months in the province, you have a document from the employer, you will be able to apply for the provincial nominee program. You may also be able to apply for the Atlantic Immigration Atlantic Immigration Program. Same thing with Nova Scotia. You work 1 year over there, you have a job offer from the employer, you will be able to apply for a PNP program from Nova Scotia. Manitoba, you could have completed your education elsewhere, but if you work for a Manitoba employer for 1 year, you have a job offer, you apply for PNP. So you see, even for that matter, Ontario, if you're working in Ontario, your employer is willing to support you in your application, well, you go for the nomination there. So these are the options available. So whenever you're planning in advance and you know that in future this is something which you might face, if issue or otherwise, then always have a backup plan ready, because once you get to the end of your 1-year work period, you will have no other option, because you are completing only 1-year course, which basically means you will get only 1-year work permit. It's not like you completed 2-year course and you have a 3-year work permit. So even after 1 year of work experience, you can explore options. You do not have that will be the end of the line. So therefore, either you can consider doing another 1 year of studies, so having 2-year studies and then 3-year program, Or you can, if you're looking at with only 1 year program and 1 year of work experience, then look and always have options available, options ready in your mind, so you know what you're going to do. Okay, Desi Abroad says, got PPR, but wife is 32 weeks pregnant. By the time the visa is stamped, she will probably be 36 weeks. Most airlines do not accommodate families that are 36. Can we delay the visa stamp, and how? I would not suggest delaying your visa stamp at all. However, when you are sending your passport for visa stamping, add a document or add a letter of explanation, provide your wife's pregnancy report as well, and then inform IRCC through the web form as well. The chances are that once you will have your passport with the visa stamped, it would give you some period of time before you have to travel to Canada. So you would have that period available in your visa. Hopefully by the time your baby will be born, once your baby is born, inform IRCC about change of family composition. Obviously, your application will be reopened. You will now be able to add your baby to your application. And by doing that, you will then have newer PPRs and newer COPRs, after which you will all be able to come to Canada as a family. So that should be the way to go. But don't hold back on your visa stamping. I'm in Canada on postgraduate work permit expiring in October 22. I have CLB 10. I have 9 months of Canadian experience by October. What are my options to get a PR? I already have an EE profile. You will have 9 months of Canadian experience by October. Why were you in a rush to apply for your postgraduate work permit on the front side? I mean, this is one mistake. And if you're an international student, this is something which you should absolutely know. The minute you complete your studies, do not be in a rush to apply for a postgraduate work permit. Okay, you have time. So do not be in a rush. A lot of people, just the minute they complete their studies, they get their completion document, they will run and apply for postgraduate work permit. It's a big mistake. What you should do rather is use the time while you have studied, while you have completed your studies, before that, during that, after that, to first find a job, the job that you need for your work experience. Once you have found that job, then the day you're going to start working, because after you find the job, there is always that period of time when the employer wants to conduct their reference checks, they want to complete their background checks before you can start working. So always apply for your postgraduate work permit one day or the day before you're going to start working, because that will then give you the maximum duration of time available. Because you will be on an implied status. It basically means you can start working. Once your application is approved, you will have 1 year period from there on, or whatever is the validity period from there on, which basically means you will have enough time to complete your work experience. That is the right way to do it. However, in your case, you will have completed 9 months of work experience by October. Well, hope and pray there is a public policy, first of all, which will give everybody an extension. And if you are one of those, then that would be great. So you will now have additional period of time. That's the first thing. Secondly, if there is no public policy, there is no miracles that happen which can help you in this situation, then what I would suggest is 2 days or 1 day before the expiry of your postgraduate work permit, apply for extension of your work permit. I know the work permit cannot be extended. It will not be extended, but apply for it anyways. Give a detailed letter of explanation that you were affected by COVID, you couldn't find a job, or whatever the situation might be in your case. What this will do for you is that it will allow you certain time to continue working, because you will now be on implied status. Because you will now be on an implied status, you can start working. You will be on an implied status. You can continue working until the decision is made on your work permit. IRCC is aware. As of right now, they can take anywhere between 4 to 6 to 7 months. In some cases, they're taking even 8 to 10 months to complete the process. Also, when you will apply for the extension, you will get an authorization to work automatically as part of your AOR. Use the document, give it to your employer, continue working. Keep your fingers crossed, hope and pray that you complete your work experience before the decision is made. If you complete your work experience before the decision is made, well, you are absolutely great, lucky, you got your 1 year work experience. Now, you will be able to submit your application under CEC if the draws are happening and if the draws happen. If the draws happen, be prepared, be ready to submit your application and documents immediately. Once you're able to do that immediately, because you are still on an implied status, hoping and praying that your decision hasn't been made, because you're on an implied status, you will now also be able to apply for your bridge open work permit. The minute you apply for your bridge open work permit, now you're on the safe side of things. You can continue working out and you will be able to live happily ever after. However, if your decision comes before that, before you're able to submit your application, and it's a refusal, then you have few options. You will have 90 days to restore your status. You can change your status to a visitor to continue staying in Canada, or you can leave Canada and return back to your home country and then apply from your home country under CEC. Because you have your 1 year work experience, you will still be eligible under CEC. Okay. So these are the different options that you have at hand. Good luck. Ontario Tech Draw, when can we expect, please? Well, expectation would be next month. That is, if they follow the one generic and one tech draw kind of a thing, which they did in the past. So it could be probably Feb, worst case March. But yeah, that's what would be expectation. The issue would be only with the upper cutoff. Would Ontario wake up and change the upper cutoff to be along with what is happening right now, or would they stick to 467? That is something which is to be seen. What about visitor visa? My parents applied visitor visa in July 2020. Old portal, till now they have not received it, but now people are getting it in 6 weeks. What to do in this case? Well, if your parents applied for visit visa in July 2020, then you should reapply, because this has been as part of the news for several months now. IRCC made it very clear. If you applied before 7th of September, then they would process it at some point of time. They just can't tell you when. If you want to see a decision sooner, then you reapply. Use the old portal, use the new portal, entirely up to you, but you can reapply. And you will then see a decision much sooner. I do not want to claim points for sibling connection in Canada. She has her COPR, currently resides outside Canada. Please guide, as I don't want to be, I won't be able to provide. Well, if you don't want to claim points for your sibling, that's absolutely fine. Simply choose or click no, where it asks your question, do you have any siblings in Canada? And that is absolutely fine. It is not misrepresentation, because after that, you will have another section called family information, where you're supposed to disclose the information about your family, which is your parents and your siblings. And in that, if your sibling is in Canada, mention your sibling is in Canada. If your sibling is not in Canada, then mention your sibling is not in Canada. And that is absolutely fine. So if you don't want to claim points, you are absolutely fine by saying no to the question, do you have any siblings in Canada? Because that is specifically to give you those points. Okay, Rasmeen says, IRCC requested to resubmit the medical Schedule A and PCC. After submitting the medicals, after 2 days, they have updated as passed. Other 2 documents in the review stage, what will be next? Well, the next would be, fingers crossed, good news. And that could happen any time from 1 month to 3 months from the time you submitted. So all the best. IRCC is talking about all streams except FSW. Nobody wants to acknowledge the time, effort, money that FSW people have put in all these years. Now, FSW have been very nicely sidelines. We don't know what to do. Well, as much as I empathize with that, at the end of the day, any country who is involved in the immigration process will always first give preference to people who are inside the country or who directly impact or affect their citizens and their residents. It's quite obvious what Canada has done in 2020 and in 2021 as well. Okay, so as much as I think the biggest problem what has happened has been the lack of communication, and now Sean Fraser has begun to sort of speak to people, or rather speak to media. And even that is scripted, but that's fine. At least he's speaking. So as horrible as it sounds, or as bad as it looks, this is how it has been. And we would like to sort of blame the bureaucracy. We would like to blame the politics. We would like to blame everything or everybody. But again, you will have to understand this, because there is no other way to explain this, that for a country, their priority will always be inside first, outside later. Okay. And when the pandemic hit, I don't think anybody had a rule book, anybody had a playbook or a script as to how they should act in this manner. They were all reacting. They were all reacting to situations. They were all sort of firefighting all the time. Whatever looked more glaring, whichever looked more troublesome, whichever looked more problematic at that point of time, they would basically go out and attack that. All right. So 2020, they could not achieve their targets. 2021 looked bleak as usual. So they had to first figure out a way of meeting their targets. Yeah, they did that. I consider this to be a bit of a hogwash, changing temporary residents into permanent residents. In terms of all they've done is change the status. It didn't really make any difference to Canada. But if you see the mandate letter, it talks about the newcomers. Okay, if you're already in Canada, you're not a newcomer. Okay, newcomer, and that is, as I said, it has been mentioned in the mandate letter as well. It is in reference to people who have to come from outside Canada, who are not already there in Canada. So when the reference is being made to newcomers, whether you want to call them FSWs, whether you want to call them paper applicants, whether you want to call them any other applications or PNP applicants, it all refers to people who are not already inside Canada. And the mandate letter does indicate that they would be looking at programs or ways to sort of bring more newcomers or continue to bring newcomers to Canada, because that is the only way the immigration is going to help the country. Canada cannot survive without immigration. Canada cannot, at this point of time, the numbers are absolutely not in the favor. So immigration is not going to stop. And immigration doesn't mean just changing the titles of TRs to PRs. So it is not only about temporary residents and converting into permanent. So the people will continue to come. People will always continue to come to Canada and as newcomers, as new immigrants. It is just that we are at this point of time caught on the wrong side of this whole pandemic. And as bad as it sounds, as horrible as it looks like, it's just a matter of time. As the time progresses, as they get a better handle on the way these things are, you would start seeing more and more programs being either introduced or being changed or being revamped to sort of bring in newcomers back into Canada. So yeah, that's basically it. During a recent session with Mr. Mooney, he had advised to go for upfront re-medicals, which contradicted your initial recommendation. Please clarify and advise. Well, it's just that what I am telling you is based on what we have been seeing in the recent trends. Okay, and that is that if you want to provide upfront medicals, by all means do. I don't recommend it, and I'll tell you why. When you do an upfront medical, first of all, you do not know if you have been given an extension or not. So you might be doing an upfront medical without, it might go in vain. You might not even need to do it. IRCC might not need it. That's number one. Number two is currently the web form process is like a black hole. So many people can tell you that they have uploaded so many documents, but IRCC keeps asking for them for the same documents again, and sometimes critical documents. So you will raise a web form and you will send your upfront medical report. Yes, at some point of time, once somebody has actioned, first of all, somebody has to action it. At some point of time, once they action it, they will simply attach your medical information sheet to your application. It's not that it is going to start helping them process the application faster. At the due date, at the due time, if your application, whenever it comes up for processing, at that point of time, medicals have been linked, then the visa officer may send it for assessment. After getting the assessment, they may proceed because your medicals are already there. It has happened in so many cases that people have provided the upfront medicals. It was acknowledged by IRCC as having been received and connected to the application. In spite of that, when the time came for assessment, IRCC has come back and asked them to do re-medicals. And now the people were confused. Should I do re-medicals? What happened to my old medicals? I've already provided the old medicals. And that led to more confusion. Then they had to raise more web forms, which was again going into another black hole, and they could not get any information from IRCC while the clock was ticking on the upfront medical request. This unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary panic, and not knowing what to do, what's going to happen, and at the same time wanting to get your application process faster. So all of this can be avoided if all you have to do is just wait for them to ask you for upfront medicals. Once they do that, because the upfront medicals, when it is requested, it is form IMM 1017B. It has a specific barcode. It has a specific reference number, which is linked to your application. Once you complete your medicals, you don't even have to upload the information sheet to IRCC, because once you complete your medicals, the data is uploaded to IRCC portal. It gets connected and linked directly to your application, which will trigger a review request, and hence they're able to update your medicals much faster. You can check with anybody who has received a medical request. Their medicals are updated within days, within absolutely 2, 3, 4, 5 days after they have completed their, after the medical reports were updated. So the choice is yours. If you think you want to do upfront medicals anyways, because you think, no, this will definitely help, by all means do. I'm not going to say don't do it. If you'll ask for a recommendation, I will say, please wait. If you don't want to wait, by all means, go ahead and do it. But I think I've given you a detailed explanation of why I think I recommend what I recommend. Amit Pokhral says, can we come to Canada as a visitor and then convert to students? I mean, I've been trying to clarify this to so many people. There is no such thing as converting. You cannot convert one visa to another visa. There is no conversion process. Every single time you have to reapply. So yes, you can come to Canada on a visit visa. You can apply for a study visa. If you apply for a regular program as a study visa, you would be processed outside Canada. You cannot be processed inside Canada. That application will be processed probably in your home country and would be processed just like any other international student who was not in Canada. The only additional argument you can make that because you're already inside Canada, that you are not a threat to the situation where you will not leave Canada. That was the only explanation you can make, but you will have to apply for it. There are certain conditions where you can apply from inside Canada where the approval rate is much higher. In order to do that, you first have to, during your visit visa period, attend a program which is considered as a prerequisite to the full-fledged proper program. So this short-term program that you will study will be for about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, which you can study without a study permit during your visit to Canada. Once you have completed this program, which is a prerequisite to a full-fledged 1-year, 2-year program, you will then be able to apply for that program. And based on that, you can apply for your study permit inside Canada. And then the chances for approval are much, much higher. But there is no automatic conversion or converting your permit. Same goes for work permits. A lot of people ask this question, can I convert my visit visa to a work permit? You can come to Canada on a visit visa. You cannot work. You can come to Canada on a visit visa. You can look for jobs. If you find a job, you will have to request your employer to process an LMIA. Once you get a positive LMIA, you can go to the border. You can go to the US-Canada border. You can apply for a work permit at the border. If all documentation is fine, you will be issued with a work permit. That a lot of people call as converting. It is not converting. You have to apply for a work permit, whether it's online or at the border. This is how you will be able to do it. My file transfer back from NDVO to Ottawa, where it was being processed earlier. Can I request this transfer or will it be as per workload distributions? You cannot request for a transfer from one visa office to another. That will happen automatically. That will happen whether it's a workload distribution. That will happen because there is a specific inquiry. Therefore, they have to do this distribution. But you cannot request for the assignment of a visa office. Neha says, can you please tell us about a security check for PR application? Does have multiple countries PCC delay security check initiations? How much time does it take for security to clear? Well, for a security to clear, it can take anywhere from few hours to few days to few weeks to few months to few years in some cases. A lot has to do with it. Basically, what they do with the security check is they will be checking your name and your certain personal attribute points towards the international watch lists. They'll be looking for human rights violations. They will be looking for international mafia, international terrorism, and any such places where your name may appear. They will also be checking for your name and details and your biometric fingerprint data against the 5 I's, the 5 countries which have a common agreement, which is US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and England, UK. And they will be checking for any kind of alert or red flag data with these countries as well. Having multiple country PCCs is not really a problem per se, but it depends which country. And if those countries are flagged out for any certain activities or your own activities, for example, you were working for a government organization, you were in an army, you were in a police, you were in the Navy, you were linked to certain political parties, you were linked or you were part of certain organizations that have been known to be linked with certain activities which raises a flag or a question. Those are the situations where you may have an extended timeline for security checks. But otherwise, having multiple PCCs is not a problem. In my application, I had 8 or 9. So yeah, it's not a problem. Any idea what is the pace at which IRCC is working on a work visa application? Biometrics has been done, waiting for future steps. Well, they are working at the space of 12 to 16 months at this point of time. Again, it depends a lot on the specific visa office. So check on the IRCC website about the processing time respective to the visa office where you applied for your application. Some visa offices may be faster than the others. Should we renew police clearance when they expire and send it to IRCC? I don't recommend doing that because in most cases, IRCC may not even ask you for that. So just renewing your police clearance, sending it up when it is not needed, it's just your own effort, which is going to go down the drain, and obviously the money that might be involved in it. So unless they ask for it, I won't recommend it unless you think the police clearance that you want to to apply for will take a long time, and it's very tedious and it's very time consuming. In that case, if you wish to do that, then yeah, maybe you may want to keep it handy and keep it ready, or probably upload it to IRCC. But if not, then don't really bother yourself with it. Is soft landing possible in 2022? Yes, absolutely. Soft landing was discouraged. It was never prohibited. Okay, it was never prohibited. It was discouraged. Discouraged at a time when they were asking people not to take or undertake any discretionary travel, or any travel which you can avoid, which is not urgent. Then don't travel, and therefore soft landing was being discouraged. At this point of time, they are allowing anybody and everybody to travel. Any visitor can come to Canada, even if you wanted to see Niagara Falls. So if you're going to allow that, why won't you allow soft landing? So yeah, soft landing is not a problem at all. You can absolutely come to Canada, stay for a few days, few hours if you want. You can return the same day. I know of people who have landed, who have completed their formalities, come out, had a double at Tim Hortons, and taken the next departure flight and gone back. There have been people who have come through land borders at from US. They have come to Canada, they've completed their landing formalities, taken the U-turn, gone to the US, back again the same hour. So yeah, it's absolutely fine. There is no problem, absolutely no issues there. Yes, what might happen is that if you will inform the visa officer that you're here only for soft landing and you don't intend to stay, then in some cases the visa officer may not initiate your PR card application. Now, if that happens, then your PR card will take obviously longer, and you may have to then wait for the PR card to happen. And if you are not living in US where you cannot cross the border, then you will have to apply for PRTD from your home country to come to Canada back again. So those are the small challenges there. But apart from that, no, absolutely no issues whatsoever. My AOR is April 2020. Is it advisable to do upfront PCC and proof of funds? As it expired now, will I be able to do retake IELTS once the results are expired? You do not need to retake IELTS. You will not be asked to retake your IELTS. No requirement there. I would not recommend doing PCC upfront. You might not be asked. If you are asked, then obviously provide it. Same thing with proof of funds. Unless they ask you for it, there is no point in providing it. I know a lot of you are getting impatient and you might think this will help. Trust me, with the way they are processing the backlogs, they are not following any specific sequence. At least I don't see that. It could be because of the specific visa officer and that queue for that visa officer, as and when that person comes, or who are you being assigned to within the same visa office. That could also vary. So, I mean, I know as much as people would want to do this upfront because they think it will help. And I know Phil also mentioned that. In the current, under normal circumstances, I would have told you, okay, you want to sort of, initiate something, maybe you can upload or you can update them. But in the current circumstances, with the way they are operating and with the way that they may ask for things or they may not ask for certain documents, you probably will be wasting your effort. And sometimes, even if you give them a proof of funds now and nothing will happen for 6 months, after 6 months, they might need to see your proof of funds again. And then you will have to redo it again anyways. So I would say just wait it out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do subscribe to the channel. We need to see those numbers going up. Do share the video with your friends if you think it could be of any relevance, any importance to them. If you are not following us on Instagram, then please, that's the link. Come back and follow us on Instagram, and you can see much more updates, information, stories as and how they happen. That's just about all that I have for today. Thank you for joining in. Take care. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.